Hi, Alex Greenhill here, and I am presenting to you my journals that I have filled up. I know that there's pretty much only a few videos like this. I don't know if I'm going to start a trend or what, but nobody knows where they get their ideas in the writing field. But I do know where I store them, in these journals, starting with this one. This is my first journal ever. When I started taking myself seriously, this was a little bit after Frankenshop was finished, but kind of in limbo, because I had passed it all around to family friend to edit it. Took forever. But this is basically where it all began, with the process of me just writing down ideas from date to date. This is from, I think, 2011, 2012, when I was like in my late teens. And you'll see that it is very beaten up. I think that is my dog's doing, but I do not know for sure. Yeah, I was very, very obsessed with keeping track of my ideas because I have terrible memory. At least I thought I did. And every single idea that I came up with, I wrote down specifically in pen. And I also did like little doodles when I was bored. But all of my ideas through the years are documented in these journals. There is one that apparently is lost to time that I had during boarding school that basically slipped from my fingers, and I haven't been able to find it since. It was a little pretentious. It had OMG on the cover. It was brown. But this was my next one that I really started playing around with. And I'll just flip to a random page. Yeah, I was a really weird kid. Guillermo del Toro stuff, this is not. Oh, here's really cool. It was basically a like to-do list of what to read before I died or something. I have gotten around to reading 1984 and The Odyssey for college and Frankenstein, but I don't think I've read Plutarch's Lives because it's a giant 2-volume set. I bought it on Amazon, but let me see if I can find more of my doodles. I'm kind of more impressed with those than this. Oh yeah, this is like I don't know. I just Oh yeah, this was a cool idea that I had. A guy with dice for teeth. Thought that was a cool idea back then, especially if they were gambling or something, you know. Somebody so entrenched in gambling that they literally pour out their teeth and put in dice for safekeeping. I think he had an old liquid diet. Let's see. Yeah, I was obsessed with doodling. I was experimenting with like things like yeah, I was obsessed for a long time with anagrams and all sorts of weird word things. So that hasn't changed. This is a what do you call it? Yeah, this is basically me being me, listing every dinosaur name that I could think of. I was obsessed with dinosaurs, and I still kind of am. One of these days, I'm going to write a series just about humans in a, prehistoric world. Even though cavemen didn't live with dinosaurs, it's mostly confined to fantasy fiction and pulp fiction. I just love these little journals. And here's just more examples of my doodles. I was working on the idea of like an original slasher film, so came up with different masks. And this is all done in pen. I wasn't like, yeah, a symbol for a cult that I was working on for a story. And here's like a zombie head to end the journal. Yeah, I didn't know what my final notes, goodbye. Yeah, that sounds like me. And next, we would have one of these babies. I don't know which one is first, but they are both full. They're both falling apart, as you can see. And they were both filled to brim with notes. Yeah, I had like an obsession with writing by hand, only by pen. And most of the time, yeah, Project Sagittarius, and I need to write more before the next old routines. Yeah, you could probably make something out of it if you pause the screen, but these are basically just little ideas here and there for stories and villains and bad guys and heroes and all that good stuff. Yeah, and more doodles, of course. Yeah, magic words. Probably for some kind of necromancer who's pictured here. Caution, may summon the undead. Seize the day. I'm always been a weird, yes. And here's a little, I think this is the doodle of me. Yeah. I'm very, very, yeah, we did a little dinosaur footprint. Once again, me and dinosaurs were together. Joined at the hip with dinosaurs. I really, really love writing. Let's move on to the next journal, shall we? Yeah, another doodle. Yeah, I was obsessed with acronyms. That was the word that I was thinking of before. Not anagrams, acronyms. Yeah, domination, order over mankind, doom for short. Never used it. And let's see. Yeah, this looked like a gremlin to me. Yeah, I was obsessed with zombies as a teenager, in case you haven't noticed. And I did end up writing a really, really short story about a fast zombie, but I wanted to do something bigger always. I may come back to it. Yeah, this is when I saw It Follows. I mentioned that. Yeah, November 4th, 2015. That's when I watched it. I always love that film. I may actually do a review of it because it is the only film that I've ever seen that actually ran entirely on dream logic. Yeah, this is just like calculations, doodles. I'm bad at math. Let's see. More journals. That was from 2015. Let's find out when this was put together. This started yeah, see how much they're falling apart. This is literally like an entire screed of story just on one page from a different year. Probably doesn't even belong in this specific journal, but I'm going to find out exactly when I started this one. And there's tape to hold it together. Let's see. I didn't get any better. This claims to be journal number 4, but I could have miscounted. This is also from 2015, but I know I finished it at a later date. Let's see, where are the doodles? I was obsessed with another list. This was for my second novel, actually. I wrote up a female character and wrote down her traits in a list. I liked lists. Oh, and this was from 2017. The 25th of, I think, January or something. I misspelled it here. But I did end up writing that novel in 2016 for National Novel Writing Month. This here is for a different project that I was working on. This hasn't gotten off the ground yet, but once I'm done with college and everything, I'm good as gold. Oh yeah, I was upset. I actually used to watch a lot of cartoons, hence all the doodles. And this is from Megas XLR, which is kind of like a anime-esque show about a muscle car being attached to a giant robot. And this was kind of this, the almost like the tagline for it. Here's another cool doodle. Let's see. Should I fill up the entirety of my journal? With no question mark. Yeah. Didn't ever think that anybody would see these. But I really like to look at them. See, this is from 2018. Came up with this. Oh, this is where the other project came from. Yeah. It kept on popping up in my journals. And this is why I keep journals, period. Is because they track the evolution of ideas. Gorehound was the project that was mentioned, and I'm still working on it now. To a lesser extent than I used to, because I have other projects, but let's see. And as you can see, my handwriting doesn't get any neater. This is a more recent journal that I actually picked up in Mexico. This was something more recently, in 2021. I wrote more sparsely, but I still doodled. For example, this is like one of the villain characters that I was obsessed with, that I created. His name is Mitchell. He's some kind of cult leader. I've changed his design significantly in my head. But, yeah. These are my journals, and I pretty much have made them all my own. And I hope to mine them every time I run out of ideas or fall short of ideas. Because they're always going to be here. As long as I keep them in good condition. Oh, look. There's actually some prose in here. Cool. Probably from an unfinished short story. I was always really, really cautious with those, even though I've written several since. Snippets of poetry. Okay, Alex, think of an idea. You have only a limited time on Earth. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I still filled them up today. I think this is another villain, but I could be wrong. It looks like the female antagonist of my aforementioned big project. Yeah. Here's a better look at her. Female slasher villain. I always thought those were cool because they haven't been done before. I mean, name a horror villain that's female with more than one movie in a franchise, and you'll probably come up short. And this is probably the creepiest character I've ever created. I can't decide whether or not to include her in prose or just straight up write a full screenplay about it. But, yeah, and this one is kind of an afterthought. This one right here is kind of an afterthought. It's full of basically little etchings, but it's not, and it's basically half finished, but that's because I prefer things with like more solid backs. But I did touch this one during the pandemic because it has little snippets of poetry in them. And I know that there's another one like this that has a full-length children's book style poem, like something by Jack Prelutsky, or what's his name? It's escaping me. Sylvester Silverstein, that I want to show to you guys later, but it depends on how well this video does. Thank you for watching, and keep your eyes open on my feed. I might post more. Bye.